You are listening to the audio production of Faithful Women and Their Extraordinary God by Noël Piper, published by Audiobooks. This book was originally published by Crossway and is read by Sarah Zimmerman. Dedication. To the Women of Bethlehem Baptist Church. You blessed me in the past by asking for stories. Now I am blessed when I see you following in the footsteps of saints like Sarah, Lilias, Gladys, Esther, and Helen. Colossians chapter 1, verses 11 through 12 say, May you be strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, for all endurance and patience with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints in light. Crossings. Introduction. Ordinary Women and Their Extraordinary God. That's what I wanted to call this book. But one husband reportedly said I could never give my wife a book with that title. She might think I think she's just ordinary. That's probably a good thing for a husband to feel, but I find it reassuring to know that God works with the ordinary. With ordinary women, I had in mind something like what Jim Elliot said. Missionaries are very human folks, just doing what they're asked. Simply a bunch of nobodies trying to exalt somebody. Not all the women in this book are missionaries, but I think each would have been the first to tell you she was just an ordinary person. So you might ask, why would I want to bother reading their stories? There's just one reason. These ordinary women had an extraordinary God who enabled them to do extraordinary things. And he's the same today for us. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 8 says Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. That's why we discover unexpected crossings between our lives and the lives of these 5 women who lived and worked in 6 nations over a span of more than 250 years. Gladys Aylward, Lilias Trotter, and Esther Ahn Kim speak of their weakness and unsuitability for the tasks God had given them. Haven't we felt that? As Sarah Edwards fulfilled her tedious, humdrum responsibilities as wife and mother, she had little idea of the ongoing impact she would make for generations through her husband and children and others who came into her home. Don't we need that encouragement in our mundane days? Helen Roseveare struggled with the desire to do excellent work when her surroundings limited her to just good enough. Haven't we felt frustrated when we thought our gifts and abilities weren't being used fully? Esther Ahn Kim learned to live for God in her prison, not just to sit and wait for normal life to resume. Don't we sometimes feel we are treading water until our real life and ministry begin? Each of these women, in the midst of her ordinary life, lived through what we might call a defining experience. From our perspective now, we can see their lives beforehand, preparing them for that turning point. And everything afterward is shaped and colored by it. Sarah Edwards experienced the refining power of God when for a few days she was physically and spiritually shaken by his Spirit. Lilias Trotter discovered the joy of serving God wholeheartedly after she made the agonizing decision to turn away from a life devoted to the art she loved. Gladys Aylward simply took each next step, minute by minute, following God's leading after she had almost totally expended her strength and health to deliver 100 children to safety. Esther Ahn Kim learned that God is not handcuffed by the cruelty of people and prison after she, like Daniel's 3 friends, refused to bow to a false god. Helen Roseveare found God's presence and power precisely at the very moments when she needed them, during weeks punctuated by rape, terror, uncertainty, and pain. With one exception, these women didn't know each other, but I can almost picture each one passing the baton of faithfulness from her generation to the next. In 1758, as Sarah Edwards lay dying in New England, she expressed her entire resignation to God and her desire that he might be glorified.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?